Greetings. Welcome to ITR Live. I'm your host, Chris Hagenow. Welcome back to Studio 130 here in the ITR headquarters in central Iowa. I'm joined here today with John Hendrickson, Chris Ingstad, and a yellow bobcat running right outside the office. We've got landscaping, gentlemen.
Yes, and it looks nice.
It's beautiful. It really is.
They're putting in some trees this morning and some bushes yesterday.
I didn't even notice the new trees.
Yeah,
that'll be good.
There might be some credits for sustainability with this.
Oh, now we figured it out. We're meeting some sort of carbon
footprint.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. Well, we, as is usually the case, we struggled getting on air here, figuring out, struggling through the pre-production meeting and the bobcat working outside the office and our sound check. And we had a debate going on here of our vocal qualities as we try and lock in the levels and all this on our microphones and everything. We collectively decided, Chris, that John has the AM radio voice, the voice meant for podcasting.
He does. He also has the perspectives meant for podcasting. So John is right where he should be.
Now, when you mean perspectives meant for podcasting, is that meant after he would be canceled from any paid show where the only thing left, it's like Tucker Carlson on Twitter. The only thing left is the free medium that no one could cancel him from.
Maybe I can go on Twitter now and do a 10, 15-minute commentary.
That's not exactly what I meant, but I think that you're going to have Tucker Carlson on Twitter, and number two, does Twitter have ratings? If they did, I would assume a John.
You can see how many plays the video has had.
Yeah, I would assume a John Hendrickson show would be right behind that.
So Tucker's getting 75 million, 100 million views of the episode. I mean, how many do we think we could get from you, John?
I'd settle for 1 million.
Yeah, I would. Could do it. Well, that was the conversation as we were talking about some of the things that we were going to mention, and John had some ideas. I thought, well, we'd certainly get some attention off of that. Anyway, we're going to kind of pick up on a couple of themes that we've been exploring lately, gentlemen, but caucus season is here. It seems that most of, at least our members, Iowa's political attention is being paid to the caucuses. I spoke this morning at Northside Conservatives in Ankeny. I was the warm-up act for North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum. So he was one of our recent entrants into the race. Got a chance to meet Governor Burgum. Seems like a very, very nice guy. Is very comfortable in that retail setting. Had met him and his wife. They did great. He's got a strong team around him, and I think has a unique message. Seemed focused on economic development, growth, his fiscal background. So. Let's get it all out. Let's get them all into the race and figure out, what message penetrates, right, John?
That's right. And Governor Burgum was able to get a pretty substantial tax cut through.
Yeah, he mentioned that this morning.
His legislature, and I think they're going to be down to 2.5%, which will match Arizona now for one of the lowest rates. Good. Well, it sounds to me like it's time for another income tax cut in Iowa, right? Yeah, I think that's coming.
Yep, that's always the right time.
All right.
Something like that.
All right, they don't call him the best color man in the league for nothing. Well, good, but seems like the big news in presidential politics elections is the indictment of former President Donald Trump. 7 counts on the Espionage Act for retention of classified documents. I got a whole bunch of thoughts on this, but John, I want to go to you as our resident presidential historian to give us your perspective on that.
Well, I think it's unprecedented, and it's quite alarming. And if you think about it, President Trump had documents, but so has President Biden and Vice President Pence. And the president does have the ability to declassify documents. And if you look at the whole background, I mean, whether it's this or the phony Russia hoax investigation, I think you see an out of control Justice Department that is basically going after the former president because they don't like him for whatever reason, and they want to stop him as a potential nominee or try to prevent him from being in the White House. And so I think we've entered into some dangerous territory as a nation because we're seeing an increasingly weaponized FBI and judicial department that's increasingly out of control and going after political enemies and so I think it's very dangerous. For example, I was reading one article. Nothing ever happened to Hillary Clinton, and she had the server that had classified material on there, and that was just swept away. Nothing was done.
No. Something was done, John. She had a tweet today selling merchandise on her website on this news.
Huh.
Way to go, Hillary.
Yeah.
I mean, just in it.
Look, if a former president or former secretary of state or former anyone else, and let's be clear, one can like Donald Trump or not like Donald Trump, but he was, the president. This is not some staffer in the White House or some low-level member of the military who has access to this and is taking it out of there. This is the president, right? So it's not like it's out of bounds for him to have access to those documents anyway, at least while he's in office, right? So let's start there, and then look, if the former president or anyone else is taking these documents and they're critical to national security, and he is shipping them off or selling them or doing anything else to foreign agents or anything. Like that is one thing, but so far I have not seen that the left has actually even been able to say or even attempt to prove that. It's just that he had these documents, and I guess I just go, look, if he's doing some of those documents, anybody is, then yes, let's go down that road and prosecute and figure out what we need to do. But simply because a former president has classified docs in their possession, I kind of shrug my shoulders to that. Like, so what? Like it was okay for him to have those on January 19th, but then the inauguration on the 20th, it's a big espionage act. I mean,
so President Biden took documents from when he was vice president.
Whoa,
no, we can't.
You
do
want
that.
to talk about?
And so, but I think you hit on this. The difference is he could have declassified these documents on his last day in office, but didn't. So really, what this turns on is a technicality of what he took and when. And so we're going to cross, to borrow a phrase, to cross the Rubicon of using the police power of the state to persecute political opponents in an effort to imprison them. I mean, that is unfathomable. And we're going to do this because of the timing of when he took a document. So you better, here's the burden is on the Biden administration. And let's not pretend for a minute this didn't come straight from the West Wing. But the burden is on the Biden administration and the Department of Justice to fully explain this to the American people. Because this is a departure that this isn't just, our politics is eroded a little bit more. And I'll tell you what, I don't want anyone lecturing me on civility in our politics anymore. We are light years beyond civility now. We are trying to imprison political opponents because we don't like them and we don't like the fact that they may be actually trying to drive them out of office.
Well, John said it, something about being afraid or should be, this is frightening. The one who should be frightened the most is Hunter Biden and the Biden family, because there has long been, whether you call it professional courtesy or grace or whatever, there's been some level of just sort of acceptance of people who have held these offices, who've been involved. It's almost like diplomatic immunity, right? Mm-hmm. We've tended to gloss over, or sort of chosen for the good of the nation not to pursue these things because everything you could dredge up, right?
I mean, like this.
So if we're going to set that precedent now, we're going after for even things that might be a violation only by the letter of the law, right? Again, if Trump's selling this stuff somewhere to foreign adversaries, that's a different story.
Then show us.
Tell us. But I haven't seen that yet. But who was selling stuff was Hunter Biden. But that's so if you really want to open that can of worms or open that door where there's future retribution that there's going to be clawed back, look out, Biden family.
And it's not just Hunter Biden. There was $5 million for the big guy too.
Yes, I'm thinking.
Okay, so let's not just say it's just Hunter here.
Well, Hunter's the conduit where it all flowed through.
Well,
but yes.
That's fine. I mean, part of me thinks this isn't just about trying to drive Donald Trump from office, but it's a diversionary tactic for what's coming at the Biden family.
Oh, absolutely.
Don't you guys remember when Clinton would just bomb the Balkans for a diversion? Like, wasn't that a better time?
Yeah.
I'm not actually for bombing anywhere, John, but that's how he chose to do it.
But I was thinking about that this morning because you think of what happened to past presidents. I think just looking at modern American history, and Richard Nixon was just vilified by the media and the establishment, and whatever one thinks of Richard Nixon. Donald Trump is probably getting the most harmful attention by whether it's corporate America or academia, the establishment, the media, even worse than Nixon. And there's just been a vendetta against him even before he was inaugurated. And you look at the not only the both phony impeachments. There was no evidence.
No, none.
There was no the phony Russian hoax.
It's Adam Schiff that should be driven from office.
Yeah, and so this Donald Trump has been basically unfairly attacked by the left, and it's getting to be very scary because it's not only going against Trump, but we've seen stories where the pro-life people have been subjected to raids, and so when does this end?
Right,
and so.
And I make no mistake, this isn't us just being ultra MAGA or whatever President Biden wants to accuse us of. I'd be happy to admit the things about that come from President Trump that drive me nuts.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't some loyal.
I took some notes during his appearance last week.
Right.
Yeah.
This isn't just out of loyalty to Donald Trump. I mean, this. But you're right, John. This, and I would go further to say, okay, Democrats, okay, Biden administration, this is how you get Donald Trump back.
Right.
I mean, you've got Republican presidential candidates who universally would love nothing more than to see him drop out of the presidential race, who are now saying, coming to his defense over this. You're turning the guy into a martyr. And maybe that's what they want. Maybe they want Donald Trump to be the nominee because they think they can beat him. But even from those that aren't necessarily loyal to everything President Trump says, well, it sure does make me want to rush to his defense. And I think about the statement or the meme that he's had before. It's like, they're not after me, they're after you. I'm just the one standing in the way.
Yeah.
And I think that's true.
Absolutely.
That's the mistake the left made in 15 and 16. Right, they didn't realize that people would see right through it and realize that was absolutely the case. Wow. And they haven't learned it yet.
No.
So again, let's not tell them.
Right. Well, the one thing that's true, Republican or Democrat, conservative or liberal, is that people's mistrust of government continues to grow. And that is underlying all of this. And they see through it, whether it's Joe Biden and whatever reasons he has for going down this path, or Donald Trump, any of them. People know better.
Could I just share this? And this goes with what Chris was just saying, but this is from an article this morning by the editors of The American Mind, which is an online journal put out by the Claremont Institute. And this is going, an editorial based on the Trump indictment. It says, America is no longer governed by even the pretense of the rule of law. The assault on Trump may be designed to neutralize him as an electoral force in 2024, or in some extraordinary way, it may even be designed to solidify him as the besieged leader of a fractured Republican Party and elevate him as a martyr in the eyes of his deplorable legions. Either way, it's clear that American history has been split between republic and tyranny, and we are somewhere in time near the cliff.
Yeah. I agree with every word of that.
Yeah.
I had a good segue earlier, but
you know what?
My segue.
I feel I'm pretty fired up on this one.
Yeah.
But we can cycle back to the federal debt if you want, but I don't know that I've.
Seems like it pales in comparison now.
It kind of does.
Yeah.
Well, John, you came ready. You had some thoughts finishing up on there. Let's mention you came ready to go. So there's still. We talked last time about.
I mean, I pulled up an article on my phone. I'd like a little credit for preparation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, but John, we talked a little bit last time about the importance of the federal debt, of budget deficits
yes.
in this presidential race. So we got a little bit of time left. I want to hear your take on this. Expand on that a little bit from what we talked about last time.
Well, this came this week. There was an interesting article in the Wall Street Journal by Daniel Henniger, who's a regular contributor to the Journal editorial page, and it kind of brought up what we were talking about on the last program. And in the title of his article is "Government Spending is a Central Issue of Our Time." And basically, he writes that the majority of the Republican candidates running are making spending a focus, and so he mentions some of the governors that are in. Such as Burgum, and we just talked about Burgum's tax reform. But what's interesting, what highlighted this article for me was, one, I thought he was a little optimistic because we've seen Republicans talk about spending in the past and nothing ever gets done on it. But one thing that he highlighted is, he said, and I'm quoting from the article now, look at the list of GOP governors once considered presidential possibilities. And he lists some of them, but then he lists our own Governor Kim Reynolds. And then towards the end of the article, he says, and I thought this was really good, the 2024 election is about running the federal government on the red state model or blue state model, between making fiscal responsibility the national norm or extending blue bailouts until we hit bottom. And I just want to say that one thing I was pleased that he mentioned Governor Reynolds, because I don't think she gets enough credit for the fiscal conservatism that she has really worked hard to achieve, and I know the legislature is a part of that as well.
We've done our best to try and give her credit, but just to be fair.
But I think even from the national media perspective, because cutting spending, controlling spending is hard. Mm-hmm. It is hard to say no, and we saw the pressure that the media tried to put on Governor Reynolds to from the area education associations, and she has done a tremendous job with the fiscal purse of this state, and so I think Henniger's point is correct, because we're seeing really two models form up, and I think one interesting part of this article reminded me of, I hope we look at the Iowa model, and one could look at, there's two directions we could go to in this nation in this presidential election. One is Iowa, the other one's Minnesota. And look at what happened in our legislative session here in Iowa under the leadership of Governor Reynolds, and look at what happened in Minnesota under Governor Walz. You have a red state and blue state model. And you can't. It's just clearly two contrasting philosophies of government there. And what we're seeing here is that, Governor Reynolds has led the nation in tax reform and fiscal restraint. I mean, it's not just cutting taxes, but she's reforming bureaucracy. She's reining in regulations. I mean, these are all things that need to be done at the federal level to start turning this country around. And she's also taken on cultural Marxism, which is really good. And so I was talking with one person last night, and we were talking about the Trump indictment. And this person, she said, "Boy, I wish your governor was running for president. I would vote for her." And so I thought this article was good because, one, it's bringing attention to government spending, and also it highlights our governor as a leader in that.
Yeah.
So,
well, what we ideally is that the record will speak for itself. The results will speak for themselves. And we do these things. They work.
Wait. The record and results speaking for themselves. Do we need anything more clear than our continual frequent debt ceiling negotiations?
Right.
To show us that the federal government, the big government way of doing things isn't working?
Well, I think that's right, because the federal government's following the blue state model.
Yes.
That's what they're doing right now. Spend as much as you can. Don't worry about the cost, and maybe it'll figure out later, as long as we continue to win elections and give everybody what they want, right? I mean, that's the blue state model. That's the federal government model, and it's completely broken. However, the red state model, championed by Governor Kim Reynolds and conservative leaders in the state of Iowa, seems to work.
Yep.
Balanced budgets.
Yep.
Tax cuts. Economic growth. Freedom. That sounds pretty good to me. And so as we move forward and continue to rack up wins and show the benefits of those wins, you would like to think that becomes apparent to the rest of the country that that's the way forward.
Yes.
Great.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. I have no more Major League quotes. So, okay, good. All right, gentlemen. Thanks, John. Thanks for getting me wound up today.
Yeah.
All right. I said that was your job. You had to get me fired up.
Yep.
Okay, good. Well, thanks for your contributions. Thanks for being here. Thank you, listeners, for being a part of this show today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to tell your friends. Don't forget to speak out, because none of this changes unless you're not going to change the future of this state and the future of this country by listening to a podcast. You're going to do it by making your voice heard and get involved. And you can do that through Iowans for Tax Relief. You can do it through a political party. You can do it through a political campaign or whatever it is, but get involved and be a part of the solution. And so with all that, we will see you next time on ITR Live.